What's going on, everybody? Frankie from Mirth Films here, and today we have a very special episode, and I can't wait to get right into it. As always, you can watch and listen to the Kinda Live, Kinda Livin podcast right on YouTube and YouTube Podcasts, and we got a lot of great stuff in store. Just some house cleaning quick. We just put out a new camera lens review video for the Panasonic 25mm f1.7. Go check that out. We'll be talking a little bit about 80K Fest, but the most important thing, the reason why you are tuning in today is because we have the one and only Andy Scullin of Unsigned 518. Andy, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing good. This is so cool to be able to be doing this, just because not only have you become a friend over the past year, but you also are super dedicated to what you do, and that is podcasting. You are a man of many facets, but podcasting has been a niche that you have carved out for yourself. And to see you stay consistent, more than anything, consistency is so impressive. And first off, man, how's your summer been?
Summer's good. You know, I've been, like with the band has been writing an EP, so like gigging has been quiet. We haven't had a gig since May. So, like, in that sense, it's been quiet, but I have been, I launched a third podcast, essentially. I mean, Unsigned 518 and the Weekend Spotlight are kind of the same, but I treat them different, you know. And,
Definitely.
And then Unsigned Unwind is the national show with local bands. I've had Cleveland, Cincinnati, Portland, Oregon, Lansing, Michigan, and Albany, New York. So I've ramped up my podcasting considerably, but it is, like you said, that's what I like to do. Not only recording, but I like to edit the podcast. Like I love, like Sundays are my day. So like I either record, edit, or both. And I'll take, basically a 8-10 hour work day and just podcast and like get everything going. But yeah.
Sundays are great days for that.
Sundays are amazing days.
And just to remind everybody, if you have any questions for Andy throughout this whole podcast episode, I will be paying attention to the chat on YouTube and Facebook.
There's live chat and shit?
Live chat. We try to make it exciting.
Can I curse?
You can curse.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there's no ratings here.
Right.
But yeah, my main thing is, like, I don't know. I respect your craft because there is so much that you are able to do and refine and while we both podcast, we do it a little different. Like it's a live atmosphere, and that's something I started with my buddies back in 2019, Kinda Live, Kinda Livin, and it's transformed over the times. But something I could definitely take a page from your book. Like again, is consistency. But like to get to where we are today with what you're doing and how you're doing it, it had to start somewhere. And a question that Josh Casano asked last week, which I feel like is a great question just to keep going here, is what is your defining music moment in your life? What is the one that stands out among the rest when you realize that music was your life?
That's interesting. I would say it was a slow transition into that moment. Like when I was younger, it was Beatles records, Creedence records, Pink Floyd. It was basically my parents' music when I was very young, like, probably 5 or 6. But I think it was when I found the music that I decided was mine, which was, kind of in one summer, and that was basically punk rock and it's like skate punk stuff that was really loud and fast and short. And I really liked that. I liked 2-minute songs, and like they were really fast. And I used to listen to them a lot. And I had this is probably when I was like 12 or 13, when I discovered my own music. And then the punk rock led into like when the grunge scene hit is when I kind of abandoned everything except punk and grunge. Like I didn't listen to Beatles anymore. I didn't listen to Led Zeppelin anymore. I was just like punk and grunge. And like, I think that's the defining moment because I kind of never grew out of that.
So what were those first bands, the 2-minute songs in the punk sense that just grabbed you, like by the shirt?
Like Circle Jerks and Descendants and Bad Religion, and then NoFX. And NoFX is still, however many years on. Descendants and NoFX are my two favorite bands of all time. And I'm actually going to see NoFX this weekend for their farewell tour.
That's right.
Yeah, I did the old man thing of buying VIP tickets so that I don't have to get in any mosh pits or anything.
Hey, that's all right.
I know.
Especially if it's a farewell tour, they're one of your favorite bands. I mean,
Yeah.
I would do the same if it was something I liked. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. So and we already knocked off a few of the questions, but yeah, I had to ask because like when you do so much local things, I mean, I have my favorite local bands. I'm sure you do too. But to know where you started is really important to me and important to the story because your mind just like transforms around a genre or a couple genres. And for me, it was kind of the same situation. I didn't grow up with the Beatles. We were a Zeppelin household.
Okay.
But like it was Stevie Ray Vaughan. It was Metallica Garage Incorporated. It was Metallica Reload.
Right. See, now you're making me feel fucking old because, like, I'm like, oh yeah, those albums that came out when I was like 15 and 16. Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Like, I remember Garage Days and like, I remember having that on cassette and shit. Like when I was a kid, because like Metallica was also anything skateboarding, and I was a terrible skateboarder, but I absorbed the culture a lot.
It's the culture of skateboarding is awesome, and sometimes it's funny to me, and I think I had the realization it was probably like 07, 08, seeing kids starting to wear flannels in high school. I'm just like, or like, we're in Vans. It's just like, that came from riding on four wheels,
Right.
that came from just like, I don't know. Skateboarding is such a cool thing because I think it creates drive for people and like being able to push yourself. The next one. Oh, I got it. The next one. And like to be able to get back off your feet after falling how many times and then just start and doing it again is something that I don't think a lot of sports are. I'm sure there's things in life that could compare to that, but like at least like in our sense, like getting back on the pony, not having a good week of just pushing out content or feeding the machine, but you do it.
The consistency, yeah. And like I remember, when I was younger, like first getting into snowboarding, and I actually was very good at snowboarding, but like trying to like convince my dad, who was a skier, that I needed the snowboard, which is, he like kind of didn't get it. And I remember showing him videos, like old Burton reels on like VHS that a buddy of mine lent me, and being like, look how cool this is, and like all the stuff they're doing. And he was like, yeah, but do you know how many times they had to do that one trick? And I still remember being like, yeah, that's the fucking joy. That's the joy of it. You know what I mean?
That's
like
the point.
Doing it and being like, what if I approach it this way? What if I approach it that way? What if I and like. Getting banged. I mean, I told you I wasn't very good at skateboarding. Doesn't mean I didn't break bones because I broke several of them. Like, and then that's when I was kind of like, I'm gonna chill for a little bit. Like,
it's tough, and and honestly, I gotta thank God that I'm not even religious. I wasn't that good either, and for that I was forced into being the cameraman of my friends. So that was like okay. My outlet, and but to kind of keep things early in your life, like where'd you grow up? Because like I know you as Andy, unsigned 518, 2020 up, like but like where'd you grow up? What was it like?
I grew up in Chester, Vermont, which is like probably an hour and 40 minutes east of here, and I actually currently work in the same area where I grew up. I only go into the office a couple days a week, but I drive out to Vermont a couple days a week. But yeah, I grew up in a small town in Vermont that was basically in between. It was just on the other side of Magic Mountain, but Magic Mountain, Bromley Mountain, Okemo, and Stratton.
So you grew up in ski town.
Yeah, I mean, I was on skis when I was 4, and like we ski with like the whole elementary school would leave on Thursdays and get on a bus and drive up to Okemo and I'll go skiing and like, but I was also really bad at skiing. And when I was a kid, I broke my leg really, really bad because I was like a daredevil kid that like would just point it and then try to figure out how to get out of it later because I didn't have any technical skills.
Yeah.
It usually ended bad. But I broke my tibia and fibula like bad when I was like 8 years old. And then I was like done with skiing. And like I was scared of a lot of shit when I was younger. Like baseball terrified me. Playing Little League, I got beaned one time by a fastball right in the ribs when I was like 8 or 9, and I was like, and then like instantly I was like scared. I was like scared of it, and like.
Hey, I was afraid of the ball too. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
That is
like, things that like brought me joy. Like it's just so funny how like you just get like I would get hurt really bad and then just be like, oh, that brings me zero joy, and now I don't ever want to do it again. Like, yeah. That's probably like a conversation to have with like a therapist or something.
Hey, whatever works. But okay, so like I just need to know that for myself because like I'm from the North Country, but like I'm down here and like I try to figure out how I not necessarily relate to this all, but like that will always be my home. But making this my home has been years long of a journey. Like it's and I'm happy to have, and I'm sure you are too, but just like the music community because finding love in that, showing up to a show where you see the same people sometimes, every single show, and it's like you're walking into like a second family, and that for me was like, okay, sold. Like before that I was like, no, I need to open my mind up a little more, and as time goes on that happens. Now, my first knowing of you is when you were doing Unsigned 518 through Nippertown. Where did the idea come into your mind? Like that, and I guess before I ask that question, what ultimately made you want to support local music more than just being a fan?
Well, I had done the local music show EQ Exposure on EQX like 22 years ago, something like that.
Really?
Like
okay.
2002, so like a long time ago.
So you have radio background experience.
Yeah, my first radio job was 1992 when I was 19 years old. Wow. I worked at a adult alternative station where it was like we'd play like a lot of instrumentals and like smooth jazz and shit. And I had like really long hair and would like show up looking like I'm like an extra from like a Soundgarden video or something, flannel tied around my waist, boots and everything. But on the air, I would talk like this and be like, that's the latest from John Tesh and coming up later. And like, I just had like
You put on the facade.
And it was radio, so like, who gave a shit? But like, so I was in radio for a long time. And then when I got asked to do that, and that was, 20-something years ago, I did it for, I don't know, a year or two. And I found that I really liked that ability to be able to help people just from I can do that for you type, you know what I mean? And the more bands I had on, the more I like kind of had a network, and it felt really good to be able to be like, oh, you guys busted your ass to make this music that you're afraid no one will hear. Like, oh yeah, I can put it on, put it on, and like I can at least get people to hear it. And like I still have connections with people that I met because I played their music on the local music show. I still have connections to this day of people. And I had guests on my podcast like maybe 3 weeks ago who I played on EQ Exposure, and I didn't know because they were a completely different band.
Wow. Okay.
And they were like, oh yeah, we were it's Doomsday Mechanics, and they were like, yeah, we were a band called Friends in Need Of. And I was like, I played your shit, and they were like, we thought the name sounded familiar,
yeah,
but we weren't sure. And, I'm like, but yeah, that's where that started. And then to keep it short, the reason I pulled the trigger was actually a couple years ago. I decided to take my first non-drinking summer, where I was like, I'm just going to take a couple months and not drink. And I'm now currently I think I'm just done. Like I did a couple like short little stints, and now I'm like 4 months without a beer or a drink, whatever. And I'm like, I'm probably
now
good.
I got to ask it, not to sidestep here,
Yeah.
but like in all seriousness, like being out in public, being out in a situation where drinking is involved, was that hard to get over at first? Or did you feel comfortable in your own skin enough to be like, hey, I'm fucking Andy Scullin?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, not like I'm like, man, look at me, but like, yeah, like and like the only difference that I've really noticed is that I tend to leave like as the party's starting to get good is, you know what I mean, when I'll dip out, like just, you know, if I'm hanging out with everybody and they're all partying, I do sometimes feel a little like, you know, be at home. But no, so I had stopped drinking for a couple months, and I had decided that I was gonna not replace it like it was like a habit that needed replacing, but I was like, I'm gonna, you know, use this 3 months of not a single hangover to be more productive. And I had the idea, the name Unsigned 518 has actually been around for a long time, like 7 or 8 years. Like it's been around, but I just never did anything with it.
I got to ask you this question because I feel like I'm literally having the same conversation I had with Keith Morales last week. What inspired the name?
I wanted it to be smaller artists, not necessarily unsigned, but I thought that was a good word that stood out, and I liked the way it went. Like I always have this, you know, I like to smush words together and put capitalizations where they don't belong. You'll notice that in shortwave radio band, like all of our songs have like words that don't exist with weird capitalizations in there, and so Unsigned 518 as one squished thing, I was like, well, that's easy to remember, although people forget all the fucking time. But it'll also show up in a search result top every time, no matter where you are.
SEO, baby.
Yeah. So those couple things made me do that. But yeah, then I put out because Spotify had been sending me all these emails, you know, because I'm signed up through shortwave radio band, the Spotify for artists or whatever.
Okay.
And they kept sending me these emails like, hey, start a podcast. We'll do the legwork for you. Start a podcast. It's free. We'll host it for you. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to see like how the like user interface is kind of, I was like, I'm just going to create a concept trailer. And it's still, I believe it's still on Spotify somewhere. Or maybe it's not. No, I think it is. But I just made a concept trailer that was just like, hey, this is Andy Scullin. Like, you know, I plan on doing this podcast where I have musicians and artists from the Capital Region over, and we'll do a podcast, play some of their music, you know, we'll see what happens. And then I released it, and that day I had a couple of different media places that were like, hey, we want to have that, and I chose the one that I chose, and we're off and running.
And then and you keep on going too. And
yes.
like
I think I missed 1 week since I started, and that was because some shit went down.
And how long ago like did you start? It was what? You said 2020, right?
No, 2022.
2022. Okay.
Yeah, it's 2 years in May.
Okay.
So it's like 2.5 years. And yeah,
haven't 2.5 years of 52 weeks times 3 minus 1 week.
I now do 2 episodes every week and 3 episodes every other week. So yeah, I'm pumping it out.
Now, I have to ask, like, what, like, because I could look at this in both ways, but like in a positive manner here, like what do you, I guess, like, do you find the podcast to be therapeutic in some ways? Like to be able to just talk and like not even let things out, but just communicate. Like
I find it therapeutic in that way, but like not like in the like, oh, I need to get my thoughts out. But to me, it's this very giddy childhood joy of having all these, because I listen to everybody that I have on. Like I make sure that and a lot of the times it may not be until the day they come on and I'll listen to them, but after that, like I listen to them, and it's really cool to have people you admire who make music that you really dig come to your house and like sit down in your garage and like shoot the shit with you for an hour. And sometimes they'll be like, hey, can we do a full live performance? And so sometimes, you know, I've had full bands and like at my house.
At the Dazzle Den.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Dazzle Den, just want to give a shout out, Matt Delgado.
Oh.
Seeing Andy in a differently Dazzle Den is weird. Here for this pair, though.
Hi, Matt.
What's up, Matt?
Matt of Erie, of course.
Of course.
Who are playing Friday at Albany Distilling, I believe, with Sydney Worthley. You like that, Delgado? Gave you a plug.
So basically, if you're not a Wook and you're not going to be in 80K Fest, go to Albany Distilling. But yeah, and fucking band called The Area kicks ass, number one. Number two, Albany Distilling Co. kicks ass. That downstairs, outdoor, like...
That's where we met Erie.
That's where you met Yuri,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, Chad was the second guest on my podcast.
Chad Fwelling, what a man.
And but he was the only member of Erie that I had met because he just came out. And then Shortwave played with Erie at ADCO, and that's where we met them and declared our best friendship.
Gotta love it. Question for you now, like what... I was going to ask you what's your favorite podcast that you've done, but I'd rather ask, what was the podcast that was like, shit, I'm on to something? And when I say on to something, just like you felt like you hit your level of what you wanted to hit.
I mean, I probably would have a different answer if you asked me that same question in like 20 minutes or the next day or whatever. But like the one that immediately came to mind was when Drank the Gold were on.
Okay.
About, I think it was 2012, I used to do a podcast that I just called the Scullin Podcast. And it was similar to what I do now, but it wasn't musical guests. It was just like whoever, just shooting the shit. But I had the band Party Boat on, and James of Drank the Gold was in it, Mary Lee Ruin, and Ben Garrett, all like, you know, Saratoga music people. And I did what ended up being essentially the hybrid version of Unsigned 518, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was like just a point when James and Una did a couple of songs, and like, I'm Irish, I like traditional Irish music, and I had set them up and basically closed them into the Dazzle Den, with the mics running to give them their privacy, and was like, just do your thing. And I was just like standing out in my living room with my dog and hearing like this like really great Irish music being played, I mean, essentially on my behalf, I was like in my house, like it, and then it was just like, thinking back to, I don't know, I think that's what I will say for today. It may change later, but when Drank the Gold were on. Yeah.
Drank the Gold, okay.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Like, how hard is it? Like what people don't see sometimes behind the scenes, especially with content creation, is, like the struggle. And that doesn't, that happens. It's part of the game, but like, how do you cope with if you're dealing with burnout, with the pressure of that you're putting on for yourself to put out something every single week?
Stacking episodes. Like when the first probably, I don't know, 6 months to a year that I was doing the podcast, I would essentially have like one guest a week over. And I would record it on a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever, and then edit it and try to get it out Tuesday, which would mean I would have to submit it by like 5 p.m. Monday or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was like, because if somebody canceled, it was like I'd have to like try. So now what I do is I stack episodes. I will on a Sunday. I've had Sundays where I've had like 6 or 7
No
guests.
way.
Yeah. Totally. Like, because the
And your podcasts aren't short either.
The Unsigned Unwind ones are. And they're
okay.
over the phone.
Oh,
So like
good.
I can literally take care of 2.5 months of Unsigned Unwind episodes in 1 hour.
Wow.
Like I just sit down, you know, it's over the phone, I just sit down. And the thing with that is I don't know who I'm calling. So it's kind of the same thing every time, you know? It's kind of the same thing every time. Cool. Like, what's your band like? Is it just you? Are there other members? What kind of music? Where are you from? You know, it's like a very easy conversation, and I can bang out 5 or 6 episodes in an hour. And then regular episodes, I try not to do more than like 3 in a day, because like it does get to be a lot. And if they're going to do a live performance, I'll do 1. Like,
right.
So.
And you want to be authentically yourself, and I could see how, like, if you were to do multiple regular episodes, more than 3, like, it's probably hard to actively listen. And that's something that, like, I'm like, because this podcast started as 2 buddies or an extra buddy with myself and talking to the guest. So I was able to lean on them for times where, okay, I needed to check out for a second, but like actively listening, actively communicating, is that something that was hard at first, or was that something that just like what, like, is it hard to keep in tune sometimes?
No, I've been a really good listener. Like, I've been a like freakishly good listener, and not just like oh, I'm a good listener, tell me yours, but I mean literally, like, if there was 4 different conversations happening in this room, I could carry on a conversation with you and 100% know what's going on with the other conversations. Like, when I was a bartender, like, it kind of freaked me out, because like I'd just be like, I just want to talk to this person here, but like these people are breaking up, and these people are having trouble with their mortgage, and like these people over there have a dog that has fucking parvo or whatever, and like, yeah, so it's easy to, especially when it's just, hey, you're talking about something that I'm interested in, like, yeah, I'm into it. Like, I'm definitely into the listening part is easy.
Yeah,
because they're talking about shit that I'm like, cool, like, tell me more.
You can you can engage with.
Yeah.
You're saying.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, just to take a quick second here, I do just need to plug Adirondack Independence Music Festival happening October. Wow, I'm getting ahead of myself. August 30th through September 1st. It's our 9th edition, and we got a stacked lineup. It's not sold out. Make sure to get your tickets. It's going to be an incredible weekend. It's not going to be hot. It's right next to the Queen of the American Lakes, Lake George, New York, Charles R. Wood Festival Commons, and got a huge lineup. Go check it out, adkmusicfest.com. I could go in detail with this, but I'm not going to. Now, what alternative hobbies do you have to keep you separated from Unside and 518 in times where you need to just like do something different?
I've got a bunch of hobbies. I'm pretty good at hobbies. I like flight simulators.
Okay, we've talked about this.
We've talked about that, yeah. Like, I do like long haul flights. And like, I'll do like, you know, a Boston to Orlando, like, you know, a 4-hour flight in a flight simulator, and you know, just obviously on my phone a lot. I've even like gotten up, go take showers, run to the store or whatever, and come back. It's still on autopilot. But yeah, I'm an airplane nerd. I just recently made soap for the first time.
Interesting.
And like, I have always had like a thing with a really good bar of soap, or like something that smells really good. Like, I like to, like, you know, like a good clean smell. And my wife has a company called Bacon Hill Botanicals, and she does cut flowers and press flowers and grows her own herbs and makes balms and salves, or salve, is that what you call them?
Okay.
And she makes like all natural soap. And I was like, I want to do that, but like, is there any way that I could do it like without having to do it from scratch and all natural and grow shit? And like, and they have melt and pour, where you buy like these just plain unscented white bars, and you just melt them, add some colors, and add your little scents, whatever scents that you want, and then you pour them into a mold, and you got bars of soap. So I made soap like 5 days ago, whatever, and now I'm like, my head's like, fuck, dude. I'm like, I'm gonna get like a custom unsigned 518 mold. I'm gonna make my own. I'm gonna make my own bars of soap. I'm gonna sell them. I'm like, but that's how my mind thinks. I don't know if it'll happen, but I was immediately just like, new venture. I make soap now. Yeah. So, but no, I do all sorts of stuff. Like, I'm not all music all the time or like all content creation all the time, because I always say like, and I can't even remember who it was, but when I first was talking about like the unsigned unwind, because I want that to kind of also be a network of these bands to basically ask that question too, you know, like, what do you do to unwind? And there was someone who had commented like, you know, slow down or unwind, what's that? And it's like, yeah, like you have to think of like everything like as a machine, and if you run it full bore, you're gonna, you know, burn out. So like,
definitely,
you have to separate.
I could use that advice. I like, honestly, like, that's probably the hardest thing for me is like, I love this stuff so much that like I it's hard for me to escape this thing that's my baby, you know. Yeah. Like, and like, but I realize that it's also not healthy to just throw myself fully into this and kind of just let things slip aside, let things just kind of drift away, and like it all, everything adds up and then ends up blowing up some way or another. And like, so for me, it's like when I hit like, and I'm surprised that this summer for me like also wasn't like as stressful as it usually is, but like, man, like doing the little things to get yourself off and like have that, for me, what that is, it's skateboarding, pushing around the block to go to the grocery store, or just putting on some tunes and going for a run. But like, right. It took time. It took me recognizing that, and also taking solid advice from people who I love in my life, that whether they're my best friends, my family, whatever it may be, it just like, I don't know. Sometimes it's like you think about like what's the most important thing, and it's like feeding the machine will always exist. Like making content will always exist. So it's just like make it smarter and don't make extra work for yourself. So the stuff that does happen counts, right. You know.
And I also kind of don't think of like, you know, I know a lot of people are really down on content creation and being like, oh, you know, we're artists, not content, and like I might be in a unique position because like I literally get paid to create content. Like that's my day job as social media manager. Like yeah. That's what I do day in and day out. And like, but like I don't necessarily look at it as a bad thing, you know. And I used to, like, I was one of those, like, I didn't get a Facebook page until, you know, 10 years too late. I was a holdout on getting a cell phone. I was like, but like for what we're all doing, the social media aspect is very important, and I don't necessarily look at it as like this chore or this thing that you have to do, but it's a way to connect. Like, and it's a way to, like, I hear my beard hitting the microphone.
No, it's okay. You're good, yeah.
I'm like, the audio guy in me is like, fuck. But, like, it's a way to connect with the people, you know what I mean? And, like, anybody who, you know, and we could talk about the reel that I made that went viral. That was the bane of my existence for a little while. But, like, for the most part, when people reach out to me, I reach back immediately. I'm like, immediately. And that's even if I'm like, hey, I don't have a spot for you for 2.5 or 3 months. Like, I at least reach back out to them. Like, I see you, you know, again, yeah. a way to connect.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm gonna adjust.
You're good, man. I think it might be me, to be honest.
My neck beard happened.
But yeah, no, that is no, that's some solid advice. Like, I personally, like, I kind of felt the same way. I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable putting myself out there with my face in front of the camera, because I've always been the guy behind the camera.
That took me a while.
And then it was just like, you know what? Buck up, man. Like, and starting the podcast definitely helped. And other than that, like, just like the little stupid things that we do at Mirth Films, it's like, we'll put so much energy into producing a multi-camera production for whatever band it may be, but then what's the fun in it? What keeps me going? And sometimes I don't think it's the worst thing to be a little selfish sometimes and create what you want to create.
Sure.
So hence Reuben Raiders or like making camera reviews. I'm sure that doesn't relate to like majority of the people here in the capital region.
But the people that it does relate to, it's going to like hyper relate to, and they're going to be like, hey, like Frankie knows about like he knows about the same thing I do, like.
Yeah.
So
and
I
like,
think even though the audience is smaller, there'll still be an audience.
100%, and like, and yeah, and but being able to root it all back to music at the end of the day is nice, and like, okay, take these different elements and then bring it into the source, which is honestly the foundation of Mirth Films, and that's jam bands, that's skateboarding, that's smoking weed and having a good time, and but this is growing up, as Blink-182 says,
Yesterday, because like I do want to talk a little bit about the band, because like we're coming back on Thursday after 3 months of not doing anything, but I always like had that punk rock aesthetic of like my strap just hanging as low as I possibly could when I was playing, and I realized that like if I pull it up just a little bit, like it's actually a lot more comfortable, and like I've been playing
makes it better
a lot.
on the left wrist, huh?
Yeah, and I've been playing a lot, like practicing a lot, so I've just been standing there playing, and I was like, so last night at practice, I made an announcement, I was joking, but I made an announcement that I've done a lot of maturing, and I now wear my bass up a little higher.
Hey, that's all right.
And then said, like Blink-182 said,
Exactly.
This is growing up, and it's easier on my back,
You gotta make the days last, right?
Yeah. Like I said, when the body starts slowing down, you got to speed it up and balance it out.
Couple last questions here.
Sure.
First off, orange is your thing.
Yeah. Yes.
And like there was a picture I saw when I was trying to find like something to use for a thumbnail for you. The picture of the orange hat, is that you as a kid, or is that just
the picture is me as a kid? The hat is not real.
Oh, the hat is not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the hat is not real.
Great Photoshop work.
It was. I think that was Mikey Bache. It was either Mikey Bache or Nick Bache. It was one of
shout
the
out
Bache
the
boys.
Bache brothers.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it was one of them that did the Photoshop work. But yeah, the picture is my 5th grade picture, but no hat and glasses. No, I like orange. I've always had like, not like always, but like I like the scent orange, like the soap that I was talking about. The
You're
scent of it
is
it's orange and weed and cedar wood.
Okay.
And it's like, smells like wood, weed, and oranges. I'm like,
sounds pleasant.
yeah, it's amazing. I should have brought you a bar. But no, I like the orange. The orange hat like is branding. You know what I mean? And like,
That's smart.
I've regretted the pork pie choice more than once. Like, there's been times when I'm like, do I have to wear?
The hat.
Yeah.
Is that
that's
the type of hat that it is?
Yeah, the pork pie. But this is an orange hat, and technically my brand is just an orange hat.
That's
so like,
right.
I have several orange hats of all different varieties. But like the pork pie one, that's where I got like that logo, the a clear ripoff of Breaking Bad, the Heisenberg logo. That's where my logo came from. And, he has the fedora and the glasses and the goatee. I have the pork, the pork pie and the glasses. Like, yeah, you didn't get that?
Always remind me of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, no, that's what it. Yeah, that's what it is. Heisenberg from Breaking Bad. That was Walter White's crack name or methamphetamine name. Yeah, but yeah, it was a clear ripoff of that. And,
wow. Okay.
I just thought it was funny.
I don't watch a lot of TV, so like.
Yeah.
Took me a second.
Actually, I think Breaking Bad might be the last show that I watched like as it aired. Because now like with everything streaming and like Breaking Bad was a great show. I love that show.
Now, what is it like now after doing everything that you've done since from 2022 unsigned and to 2024 right now, present day? What does it feel like to now be independent and doing this on your own, no strings attached? Not saying you didn't call the shots before, but it's your thing, man.
No, I get it.
It's your baby.
It feels amazing, and that's actually where the Weekend Spotlight episode came from, because I was like, I want to do more than one a week, so I'm gonna, you know what I mean? And then I was like, well, what can I do? And then yeah, in that aspect, it's good because I, post everything myself, whereas before I didn't post everything. I just sent it in, and then it was kind of out of my hands, and sometimes it wouldn't show up when I wanted it to, and now I can schedule it when I want. Like the Weekend Spotlight episodes, I record them at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, and then release them at midnight. So they're as close to live as you can get. But yeah, it's been really good, and I'm actually going to Canada in 2 weeks, because I got invited to an unsigned artist music festival.
Wow.
In fucking north of Toronto. Right? Toronto, is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah. Yeah, it's an 8-hour something drive out in Ontario, and it's this huge festival, 3-day music festival. All the artists are unsigned artists, and the organizer of the festival just sent me a DM on Instagram. I was like, I really like what you're doing. We're doing this. Can we invite you to it? And so I'm going up, setting up a booth.
Congratulations!
Thanks,
freaking
man.
Awesome,
yeah,
dude.
it's super cool. It's the band. I got a banner coming and everything.
Nice.
And I'm like, wow, this is legit, But I'm gonna do interviews while I'm up there. My best friend from home, who actually got me into radio 35 whatever years ago, was coming with me and gonna be my right hand man and man the booth when I'm doing interviews. But I'm gonna set up a little mobile studio and record a shitload of unsigned, unwind interviews live at Gussapalooza in Canada. Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
It's really cool to sometimes just reflect and think about okay, you started this in the den, and now it's brought you somewhere.
Yeah.
That's proof in the pudding, man.
And
seriously.
it's all consistency. You said it earlier. That's the only thing that works. If you're going to do anything, no matter what it is, if it's a podcast, I mean, that's how what I know. But if it's anything that's supposed to be done with a frequency, every Tuesday or every Thursday, it has to be, because your audience will fall off like that, and they might not come back. If you miss 2 or 3 weeks, they're done. And I mean, before I got into podcasting, that's kind of how I was. Shit that I'd be listening to, and then I'd expect it, and it wouldn't be there, and it wouldn't be there, and days would go by, a week would go by, it wouldn't be there, and then
you're counting.
And then I'm like,
yeah,
all right, unfollow. Yeah. So consistency, just put the content out, no matter what.
Hell yeah, man. And now, just to kind of wrap things up here, one thing we like to do on the Kind of Live, Kind of Living podcast is talk about what we've been watching, listening, playing. If you play video games, that happens to me all the time. What do you, I guess I'll just start, just some things I've been watching, listening, and I haven't played video games, and man, it's been so long, and I miss it because I was so deep into Ghost of Tsushima on the last act. I got really into storytelling games after my Halo phase, and then I was and then life just takes over, so... But watching, I don't watch a lot of TV shows. People who know me know that I haven't even seen The Godfather or any important thing that any Italiano should watch. But something I watched, I'm a huge Metallica fan. They're my favorite band of all time.
Okay.
A lot of people think that I only listen to jam bands. It's not the truth. But Metallica is what put my heart into everything today, separate from skateboarding. And but just watching back some of their interviews that they've been doing with actually Apple Music, they some great sit-down interviews with the whole band, talking about the Black Album, talking about 72 Seasons tour, and just hearing somebody like James Hetfield talk about what they do and how they do it, and understanding James's brain, because I think James Hetfield has got to be one of the most prolific human beings, and I don't really have any role models, but him as a role model of just being this badass dude, very well spoken, soft spoken, but so powerful, and even more powerful in the right hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is what, like, kind of like just, I don't know, fuels me. No pun intended.
I have a hidden homage to Hetfield in one of Shortwave songs.
No way.
In So Long the Hope. Oh wait, is it So Long the Hopeful? Yeah, that at the end of a couple of the lines, I do a yeah, and
Gotta get one in you.
We actually added them in after, because like Dave Tayo had like jokingly had that in the demo, and I was like, oh no, let's do that. And he was like, for real? And I was like, yeah, I wanted to do the Hetfield. And he goes, all right. And so like we went back in, I put the headphones on, and when it came to the part, I went, yeah, yeah. And then was like, all right, have a good night. So like, I'll point it out to you. But
that's awesome.
They're in there. You can definitely hear that.
Please send the track over.
I will. And I do it live all the time, yeah. Because like in my skateboarding days, like Metallica were definitely one of the
Is there an album that's just like, this is the one for me?
Probably Kill 'Em All.
Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
Hit the fucking lights. Yeah.
Skating the half pipe in the barn, getting stoned, listening to Kill 'Em All.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, and then I guess listening, I just King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard have been crushing it as they always do. But they just released that album, Flight B741. Such a good album, front to back. I'm a latecomer when it comes to the band. And then Oasis. I know that we talked off camera. They're one of those bands, of course. Like, yeah, you could be like Wonderwall, Champagne Supernova. And, you know, like I had this conversation with some coworkers at work today. And, like, they're Gen Z. They don't, you know, they only know what they know. But, like, what... I don't know. I was just like, I was kind of frustrated. And maybe it's me being an old man versus them. But I was
old man.
But it's just like, you think of cliche songs, right? Don't Stop Believin', right? Enter Sandman, Bohemian Rhapsody. And we joke about stuff like that, right? People joke about these, oh my God, how many times I heard this. But like, just sometimes like sitting back for a second and thinking about how those songs have impacted music in general is, to me, mind-blowing. And like, I used to be one of those haters too. You know, Nothing But a Good Time. How many times have I heard that by Poison? But like, or, you know, Paradise City. Like, but it just like, those songs were so impactful. And when you're a kid and you hear that for the first time, you're just hooked, you know, and you just want to go. So like, Oasis never really caught my ears that way. But I was just like, I found it funny, this conversation I was listening into, because I brought it up. I was like prior to them announcing today that they were getting back together,
right,
I kind of did go through a little phase. Like I listened to Definitely Maybe all the way through What's Your Story, Morning Glory. And there's like, and especially I could relate this back to a Metallica sense. When I, you know Master of Puppets, Battery, Sanitarium off Master of Puppets, but then it's like you listen to the songs that aren't radio friendly or whatever, that Disposable Heroes, and you're just blasted in the mind. You're like, how have I never listened to this? Why did I skip this song? Because I didn't know it, you know? So I was actually kind of blown away, and I think the reason why I want to talk about them is because just like a band like U2, they have this world global success that everybody relates to, and I think that music brings everybody together. We both know this. So like, I just think that's pretty freaking awesome, you know. Like I guess I kind of just respect the craft, you know. So that's where I'm coming from. That, and then so Oasis is just like boom. We're gonna get into the. We got a couple of comments here. Chris Montgomery Peterson, good talk. Ryan Shaw, perfect timing. Ask about his new hobby. He actually frequently we talked. We
already talked about it, Shaw. Maybe if you'd have fucking been here on time.
And then I actually like the song "Don't Look Back on Anger." I'm not afraid to admit it. That's a song.
They've got fine songs. My thing with Oasis, and like, you know, I said I would tone it down, my true feelings, but like
tone it up.
I don't like Oasis. But my whole thing was never a song-based thing. Like, Wonderwall is a perfectly fine song. All those songs are perfectly fine songs. My thing was, in my view when, like when they came out, like when that first Oasis album came out, like I was 23 years old. So like, it's not like, like had enough of an opinion, like, had been playing guitar for years, and like the songs are great, but like the dudes, I mean, let's face it, we're ripping off a lot of elements of the Beatles, and then being like, we're bigger than the Beatles. Be like, motherfucker, you're stepping on them and not acknowledging them.
Yeah.
And so I never got over that. I like literally never got over their ridiculous narcissistic egos, and like it just, like, as people, like I would see them in interviews and I was just like, you could be writing songs that makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up and I won't listen to them. So that's my thing with Oasis. Be nice to each other or I'm not going to listen to your shit.
Nickelback. What's
No.
your opinion?
No.
No?
No.
I had to ask. Reuben sandwiches.
Rubens are good. They're great. They're fine.
Now, what have you been watching, listening, playing?
I don't watch a ton other than like backgroundy stuff when me and my wife and Calvin, when Katie and Calvin and I are sitting on the couch. We watch like, Bob's Burgers and The Great North and Modern Family, or Gilmore Girls. And like I am unabashedly a fairly staunch Gilmore Girls fan. Like,
Pro Gilmore.
Absolutely. I've seen, like, we have Gilmore artwork in our house that you wouldn't know it was Gilmore artwork unless you were a fan of the show. You would just be like, oh, that's Stars Hollow. I have my Luke's Cafe mug. Yeah, I'm a big Gilmore Girls fan. I'm a big, I love the dialogue. I love the pop culture references. I love that they do pop culture references that go so deep that I have to look them up. Usually pop culture references, I'm like, oh, I get that. And I'm like, what is that one? And I'll look at it and be like, ooh, yeah, I love Gilmore Girls.
Hell yeah. What about listening? What have you been listening to?
I mean, other than like local music, I've been, and not like I ever steered away, but like I've been diving deep back into Candy Ambulance, Model 97. I just had these guys on the pod this weekend and did a deep dive on their catalog, and they're super good. The normal, a lot of Sugarhold and Black Tongue and Gozer, all the 518 stuff, Angelina Valeni, and outside of the 518, I'd say I stick to mostly, been listening to like a lot of Tim Armstrong, Rancid, like his solo stuff. They did a compilation called Give 'Em the Boot. That was like a while ago, I don't know, 10 or more years ago. And like a lot of artists that are on that. It's like a lot of like Hellcat Records artists, Deftones, NoFX, Descendants. As long as it's local or fast.
Fast and local.
Yeah, I
love
fast.
it. Yeah. I gotta just get this in here quick. James Mullen, 518 Music Forever.
Hi, James.
Hell yeah, man. Rancid. I got a quick Rancid story. So, White Claw came out in mass popularity, like maybe it had to be. I've told the story on the podcast too, but like it came out, whatever. Like at 2017, 2018, I started drinking this stuff, Ruby Grapefruit, and I had this genius idea, which is not that genius, but it was okay. Let's switch the lyrics up here and turn this into a White Claw commercial. And use and swap out Soho with grapefruit and just have like a 30-second ad with Ruby grapefruit. I was like,
for White Claw?
I was like, their marketing team's gonna go for this. They're gonna be so pumped that I came up with this, and I sent the email, and I immediately got back. We'll consider it. We'll send it to the marketing team. Heard nothing.
Yeah.
So, truly all day. Busy. Sorry, White Claw.
Millennial
I still drink
Zimas.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly. But exactly. Zimas. Yeah.
That was when,
That's a throwback.
when we were. Oh, Jesus Christ! I remember. I got so sick off that shit. Like, it was in either high school or just after, and I never drank it again. It was like, oh my god. Yeah.
Now, Andy.
Yes.
What do you got to plug? You got some stuff coming up, shortwave, unsigned episodes you're looking forward to releasing.
Yeah, I got things to plug. Shortwave, we're going to be at Unihog Thursday, day after tomorrow. It'll be our first gig since May. We went on a hiatus and wrote an EP. So we have a shitload of new songs that nobody other than the five of us have ever heard. And that EP is going to be produced by TJ Foster of Erie. I don't know if you knew that, but that's exciting news.
Shout out TJ.
And actually, you know what, since I already gave like a not so subtle hint that anybody could have figured out, I'll make the official announcement that we got JB, aka Dirty Moses, to do a feature on our EP. So it'll be us laying down a hip hop track and JB doing his thing over, and we haven't even heard any of it yet, or what, you know. But obviously we trust him. But yeah, so that's super exciting. So we'll be at Unihog on Thursday for EQX's summer concert series, playing new songs. We're doing 2 hours, so we'll obviously do some punk rock cover songs because we don't have 2 hours of original songs. You know?
It's tough. Yeah.
It is tough, especially when we write fucking 2.5-minute songs. I'm like, what are we gonna do? Write 40 songs? But yeah, so that'll be, I think, 7 o'clock. It starts there. Let me see, what else do I got? And you know, it's funny because I always do this on my show too. Like, all right, here's your time, and people are always like, oh shit. I'm like, now I understand. On the spot. I do want to like give a very subtle hint. We had talked about it off air, but there is something coming that'll help bring the community together, the music community in the 518. It's super exciting. It'll be announced hopefully soon. Like, it literally could be any minute or any hour or any day, and when it is announced, you'll be like, oh, that's what he was talking about. But until then, I can't say. But anyway, pay attention to socials, 'cause something super cool is coming. And yeah, check out Gussapalooza too. That's the festival up in Ontario that I got invited to. It's all like unsigned artists. They do a 3-day music festival, so it's, you know, obviously too late this year because the festival's in 2 weeks. But, you know, if any 518 bands, because they get bands from like everywhere. They have bands coming in from California and Oregon, and, you know, so 518 bands are a car ride away. Nobody has to take a plane. So if any bands want to submit for next year, hit me up and I'll put you in touch with the right people. And other than that, Unsigned 518, new episodes every single Tuesday, long form interview with your favorite 518 musicians or luminaries in the music world. Unsigned 518's weekend spotlight episodes drop every Thursday, or rather Wednesday at midnight, and that is a snapshot of what's happening now. And the Unsigned Unwind are every other Wednesday, but they're all right in the same spot, so you don't have to go to different streams. It's all under Unsigned 518 on all the streaming things. So one feed gets you all 3 shows. So like, rate, subscribe, and tell a friend.
Absolutely. And not to sound too YouTube-ish right now, but like that like,
smash that like button.
But it's so important.
It is.
Like for the analytics, for the algorithm, like it lets the machine know that people are ingesting this content.
And not only does it let the machine know, but like being, you know, on the smaller scale, like, we know. It lets us know. You know what I mean? Like, you know when you get a new subscriber, you know? Just like, I'm always checking that and seeing where people are listening and see. So like, it helps. It helps us create better stuff, and it helps the stuff that we create be seen. So yeah, like, rate, subscribe, and share. Share this link.
100%. And just going to get these last couple comments in here. We got some late joiners. Rob Smittix, bring back Zima. No. Love you, Rob. Hey, homies, Amy Clemmy. I like Frankie's fancy shirt for the podcast. This is a new thing for me. Listen, I could be wearing my backwards hat right now. I could be wearing my Mirth Films shirt, whatever, Metallica shirt from any era of Metallica. But like, I don't know. I went to work today and like I thought it was funny because like the setting that I work in, not nobody dresses up, but it's a job where maybe you should like. So I dressed up, and it must have been because I tucked my shirt in. But I had like literally like 9 people say something to me. Oh, what?
So
what
it
is
wasn't
going
for
on?
me. I thought it was for me.
Man, if it was for you, I would have brought you roses.
I could have brought you flowers from my wife's flower stand. Yeah.
But I was just like, you know what? This is kind of goofy. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, like Andy said, smash that like button, hit subscribe to YouTube because, like, in all honesty, the best way to support Mirth Films in 2024 and beyond is by going to our YouTube channel. We are very lucky to at least be monetized now, and I'm not even gonna say reap the benefits because it's fucking chump change,
Right. But it's something.
It covers the cost of operating Mirth
because
Films.
I'm still at the point, people think that I make money. Like, I not only don't make any money, like, it actively costs me money to do, so like to be monetized, you're on that, you're on that other side.
It helps.
That's a great, great
and it's a good
step.
incentive too. It's like, okay, people are watching this stuff. You understand what they're watching, what your viewership is,
Right.
and not that you should base your whole life or your content on your viewership, but
a lot of
like
people
when you
that do,
see
yeah.
when you see pennies add up, it's like, okay, yeah, I could
it's
rub
something.
2
It's
nickels
great.
together and buy myself a couple of pieces of bazooka gum,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let's see if we got anything on YouTube here. I thought I saw something. Billy Francis, you can get into the clubhouse, the racetrack dress. I'm not going to the racetrack anytime. It's almost the end of the season, anyways. We got Gozer Music, Scullin, Scrub, and Soap.
Yeah, you guys want some soap? I'll get you some soap. Smells like oranges and weed.
That's right. And cedarwood.
And cedarwood.
Don't forget. Andy, this has been great.
Yeah,
and it's
man.
great to call you a friend and looking forward to working with you going forward in
Hell
the
yeah.
future and hopefully make some more appearances on the Weekend Spotlight. As always, this has been episode 64 of the Kinda Live, Kinda Livin' podcast right here on Mirth Films. Please go ahead, again, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Head to mirth-films.com for all the latest live music news, concert reviews, recaps, interviews, all that bullshit. You can find it right on our website. But it's been real, man. And let's keep it real. It's the end of the summer. We're going to wrap it up with a bow.
Yeah. Hell yeah. The fall's going to be great.
Catch you later, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye. You did a thing. That was good.